Father God, we just thank you so much for the great weather that you're allowing us to enjoy. We thank you for our country. We just lift it up to you, Lord. We've got a lot of problems. Please help us make good decisions tonight, good, honest decisions that honor you. And we just thank you that you're always with us. In Jesus. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Okay, the purpose of the meeting tonight is to try to reset our voting precincts, commissioners' precincts, JP precincts. And if someone has a public comment, this would be the time to make it. You have 3 minutes. Otherwise, we'll turn it over to Mr. Riley and let him make his presentation. Go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Judge and Commissioners, and good to be back in Goliad so quickly. I apologize for having to get back so quickly. We had our maps that were a bit incomplete last time around. I trust that these look good to you. We had our people kind of check and double check them. But no matter what we do, whatever lines you end up drawing are going to be the final lines for the precinct. And basically what we try to do is get a maximum deviation between the highest and the lowest precinct from the absolute perfect population for the county. And right now, precinct 1 and 4, Commissioner Precincts 1 and 4, look pretty good at just a 2.62 and a 2.85 deviation. But precinct 3 is a little bit high on the number side at 9.01%, and precinct 2 is a little bit on the low side at 14.49%. But if you look at the number of votes in that third column there on the top, you can see what the actual deviation is. And it's not a whole lot of people, but sometimes you got to move a lot of lines to get there. So I did send you all a kind of a blow up of the Goliad area. Hopefully that would maybe help you all kind of think through what you want to do in adjusting these lines. But obviously 3 needs to lose a few votes and 2 needs to gain a few, and you got a little bit of room on 1 and 4 if you want to make a few changes there too.
So do you want to go through your presentation, or do you want us to ask questions based on what you've given us thus far?
I guess, yes, if there are any other questions, or if you need any further explanation on anything, I'd be happy to provide it.
My question is, does your software, were you able to change whatever you call them, voting blocks or streets or whatever, one by one, and add them, take them out of precinct 3 and put them into 2?
Yes.
You could show us that?
Yes, Commissioner. What I can show you, and we can do it real time, is we can move census blocks. Because the voting blocks will be much bigger.
Whatever.
But yes, sir, we can. And in the city, that's easy because they tend to follow the grid of the city street layout and that sort of a thing. Out in the more urban, rural areas, they tend to be much larger and don't seem to follow much logic. But it is the Census Bureau after all. So yes, sir. And what I would suggest is when y'all are ready is, if you want to start in the city, Judge, or I can zoom into that and then we can look. Y'all can tell me which ones you might want to think about moving.
Sure. I thought it made more sense to make the changes within the city. The commissioners don't have purview over those roads.
Yes, sir. And most counties like to try to do it that way because it doesn't affect your existing operations.
Is that the track y'all want to go down, or do you have a comment on that, Commissioner?
That's fine, yeah. That's more.
I would like to say that I do have about 15 more miles in precinct 2. So it doesn't bother me if I lose some of the miles of roads and give to him. And if we do it in the city, nothing changes. I'll still have about 15 more miles than precinct 2. So I'm not at all upset with changing some of the rural streets.
I'm not exactly sure how that would fit in with our budget process and the amount of money that precinct 3 or 1 or 2 received to try to maintain their roads.
Okay. Well, I'm happy if we can get it with the city, and I have some, you know,
Have some thoughts?
you and
Yes, sir.
I've already contacted him more than once today or yesterday, whenever it was, and so, but I thought that the dotted line was what you were
Proposing?
proposing.
Yes, sir.
So,
And it's not.
I have now found out that it doesn't make any difference about the JP2s, the judges. It doesn't make any difference if they are moved out of one precinct, commissioner precinct, into another. They serve their term, and then they would have to file in their, the correct.
In their own, and yes, sir,
in
and
the
that,
correct JP office, which that solved that problem. There won't be any lawsuits if we moved him, if we move a judge out of his sitting district, it won't be any, there can't be any ramifications by that judge or any other judge saying that you can't do that. But it's fairly clear on the.
legally,
what
I
Abbott
think,
did.
I think legally you have the ability to make those changes all that you want to, or you can make changes or leave things the way they are in order to try to accommodate existing office holders as well. Yeah, and those lines were city lines, city limits, or at least it's what the map says are city limits. So,
Well, give us your best thought, Frank, and we'll have a look at it.
Okay, my next question would be then, Frank, does it make any difference if we begin to change out the ethnicity in these? Was that going to be a problem?
if you look, and you never want to draw lines based upon race, but you also don't, at the same time, under the Federal Voting Rights Act, you also don't want to decrease existing minority opportunity districts or minority majority districts.
Correct.
And if you look at Precinct 2, it does have a 50% 0.63 Hispanic, and Precinct 1 has 46.08. That's all people. If you look at the voters, voting age population of people that are 18 or more in age. It's the middle line there. Neither Precinct 1 nor Precinct 2 is a minority-majority district for purposes of the Federal Voting Rights Act. To the extent if you can get a higher number on either of those two, or both, that would be helpful.
That would be okay.
Yes, sir, it would be just fine. But again, I would suggest we don't draw on the basis of race, but we certainly don't want to regress any from where we are. So has anyone had particular thoughts about what they would like to see between?
Okay, so why is the part there where your hand is right there, why is the red a different color than the other red? Is that what you're trying to change?
I think that, no, sir, I think that's because it's within the city limits, that it's, the yellows are a little bit different there too. It's all within those lines.
Okay. That's not what you're trying to change then?
No, sir. Let me get us back over to here.
Well, last time you were saying, Alonzo was saying, basically you were going to move it exactly like it was 10 years ago. You were going to move precinct, the city from precinct 3 into precinct 2. Isn't that what they were saying last time, Alonzo?
Yes, that's what he had showed up on his previous.
Of course, the numbers were
maps.
were not necessarily right, but what would happen if you did that?
Well, let's try it.
What do you have now for your current number, your suggestion, like we said?
I don't really have a suggestion.
You really don't?
I've just looked, and I see that you can move things around in Goliad and get to where you want to get. And so you all have to live with these lines. You know the people in the neighborhoods far better than I do. But we can take a look at selecting by voting district, sorry. Let me get back to census block.
And you're coloring, that you're changing precinct 3 to red right now, right?
Yeah, precinct 3, that's just red for telling me what I've got selected.
Okay.
It's not moving it into precinct 1. I would suggest we would move that into precinct 2. At this point, let me go ahead and just square that off there. Well, let's see how many we got total. Total, you have 339 and people within that little area there, which would, if you moved them over there, bring precinct 2 well within the deviation, but precinct 1 would be high. If you cut out just a little bit of that, you could. And that would balance out 2 and 3 pretty well.
I can't tell where's precinct 2 numbers?
The precinct 2 number would be right here. So the total population for precinct 2, if we made that change, would be 1,740. Precinct 3 would be 1,620. You're moving 241 people. Yes, sir?
No, 241 out of precinct 3 into precinct 2?
Yes, sir. And what you see with this is precinct 2 is less than 1% deviation from the ideal of 1753 per precinct. And then precinct 3 is at 4.73%. If you were to make that one change, your plan would be constitutionally balanced as what would be required by the one person, one vote.
Okay, so precinct 3 up there says 9.01.
Yeah, I haven't made that change yet, but I can.
What's in white is now precinct.
2. That's correct, Commissioner.
And what is that dips down? What is that dips down for precinct 3? Is that where the high school is?
That's North Street, Brune Street, Pecan Street. I can zoom in a lot closer. I can even put an image on there if you want, like.
Goes all the way to 183. Is that Ward Street at the
Ward Street on the top.
Okay. Is that, what is that on the left there, on the west side? What street is that?
I'll blow it up a little bit and see if I can.
Is that Church?
Looks like a school. If you adopted this plan, you could stop and go home if you wanted to.
Give me the boundaries on this here plan then.
The The boundary, sir, which,
The street boundaries on
oh, the street boundaries. I'll tell you what, let me make the street names a little larger so we can,
Changing the pictures on me, and I can't even keep up with you.
I fully understand. Let me,
Looks like it's going down Church.
Yeah, but I was trying to look at it a while ago, and he was changing me to a different picture.
yes, sir, that would be
That's
Church.
That's it right there.
Church, that'd be 183, be North Street and Ward Street.
Yeah, Ward Street would be the cutoff on the north side,
Yes, sir.
and then what's on the west side there?
West side is Church.
Church. That's the
I'm
east
sorry, that's the other west, 183,
side. Okay, and then what's on the south,
North Street.
north?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, North Street, Broome Street.
Yeah, that's basically what it was before at one point.
Cherry, Gay Meadow is still in precinct 3.
Gay Meadow would still be in precinct 3.
And that's right there where that,
Oops, sorry about that. There we are.
right there where Pecan Street is, just to the east of that, that's where the middle school is, and just above it is where the high school, that, right in there, that's just where Goliad's written, that's where I think the middle school is. And then the high school is a little bit further to the north. So that's that block basically that has the high school with not very many people living in it. How many people live in that square right there, sir?
98.
Oh, there are 98.
Now, I don't know that I explained this last time because we ended up cutting it a bit short, but the census this time, for the very first time, because our data is so good, our mapping is supposedly so good, and you could focus down on individual census blocks. The Census Bureau was concerned that people's identities and/or characteristics or so forth would become too well known, so they wanted to what they called mask it, and so sometimes you're going to see places where they're putting people that you don't think are there, or vice versa, but they try to keep them close.
Oh, the nursing home is on Ward Street.
It's on Ward Street up there at the top.
Yes.
Ward. On the west side, I cannot tell. This is Hill Avenue right here, but it doesn't tell us which one that is. Let me see if I can.
But I can tell you that a little bit further over on to the west, that's
That's the ETJ.
Westwood Drive. Would that be right?
No.
Westwood Drive?
no.
Davis Avenue.
But Davis doesn't go all the way to Ward, I don't think.
So the ma-
Davis would be in precinct 3, according to this map here, correct?
No. That's
And that's
Fort- that
High
would be
Street.
yours. You'd
No,
have Davis
no, that's the
going
wrong
off
place.
of 59.
Wherever the city limits ends would be where the precinct would end and begin. It appears to be,
Which is Michael Street.
yeah.
So where's the Angels of Goliad?
Up there on Michael Street.
It's on Michael Street, okay. Which it didn't be, that'd be in precinct 2.
Correct.
Okay, and then on the other side, which would be Wexford Country, I guess. Oh, there's Angels of Goliad. They're showing Angels of Goliad on precinct 3.
Which
It
it,
i-
which it would be, if that's going to be because that's your city limit sign, or city limits, ETJ.
And I would suggest it is helpful for your elections people and the people drawing the voting precinct maps, that if you do follow city lines, that is a helpful thing. Not required, but
Well, just like I said last time, it's more densely populated to make the move in the city limits than it is in the rural area,
yes, sir.
because you have that's the most populated area. And it wouldn't affect your ratio you were talking about earlier either, very much. So then everything that's in brown on that map right there would be precinct 2, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
With the same existing count, with the same existing lines out in the, outside the city limits still, because we didn't change any of that.
Correct, just within the city limits.
This one you have up fits the criteria? as
Yes,
far-
sir.
So
It does.
federal,
Would you pick up that many more votes? if you-
federal
if you took
authorities
in that
were
vote?
okay with this
'Cause there's really
particular,
not a lot of
Yes,
houses
sir.
in that.
okay.
That's almost a house.
Do you have a comment on this particular
It
map?
said the number one of them.
One minute. Wouldn't it be easier just to block it in?
Leave it like that, because the cutoff is Ward Street anyway.
What-
Yeah.
The
What's the
dividing is
population
gonna
on
be Ward
precinct
Street
3
still.
now? With the way it's drawn right now, where is
It's really in the
precinct 3
city, so it's not gonna affect us
I'm
much.
negative 4, whereas I'm less than
I'll get more
17,
numbers, more voters.
I'm less than
He'll get a few more.
1799.
And you're not really picking up
1753.
any roads for the city.
The city roads, yes.
Yes, sir.
4% less
Yes,
than-
sir, this is,
That's, 2 that he's got up there.
yeah, 2,
I see a 3 with negative 4 point,
that's correct. So the population would be 1,670.
say it again, 1,000?
1,670.
7, okay. Yeah, that's 4% less than 1753. Okay. Man,
Commissioner Edwards, do you have a comment on this one?
No, I was just curious, what would happen if we just took that piece that goes by the school, that there's not very many votes in there, and just
How many voters did you say was in that square where the high
There-
school's at?
There are,
Commissioner Brumby?
just blocked it straight across?
yeah,
he said about 90,
96, I believe.
hard to believe, but. there are
96.
90 there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just for the sake of being,
Yeah, but then that would change the numbers.
That would put you over.
That would put you over. or
But
put me
but
over.
let me
Put me
just,
over. Put me
let
over.
me just do a what if here.
I like the way it is there myself.
So if you were to move that over, precinct 2 would have a positive deviation of 4.85. Precinct 3 would have a negative of 10.33, and you'd have to find some more other places to bring in for precinct 3.
I would leave that square for him there.
How about over there, Alonzo, where Meadowbrook and, you got right in there? But that's a lot of folks, that's, if that became back to precinct 3. I'm happy with the whole, and, I'll take it to school.
That's what I said. I was happy with it
I got no issue with it, I mean,
because it makes the numbers work.
Here's my question about Ward Street now. Ward, to me, has a lot of issues now. So who takes care of Ward Street?
The county, precinct 3.
Thanks, but why?
That's the dividing line. It's always been that.
But I have 15 more miles than you now. So that would even up, that would give you about 2 or 3 extra miles and take 2 or 3 miles off of me. But I understand what the judge said too. I mean, you've already made the numbers on the roads. Is that what you're saying?
We made our budget numbers
Based on the miles?
road mileage.
Okay, then I guess I'll
I'm
take
just-
Ward.
It is what it is.
I mean, Ward's currently yours now.
And I realize that, but I wouldn't mind.
Alonzo said he would come over there anytime and help you.
Sure, I help him. No problem.
So what's your thought about what we're looking at here?
Looks good to me. I mean, with it,
Kenneth, what do you think?
what do you think?
well, I really don't have a dog in this fight. I was just thought if we could square it off just for sake of, easiness, knowing where everything was without having a little block in there, but if
I
it's
mean,
gonna
It's
mess
gonna,
the deal up,
it'll affect.
it is what it is.
It'll affect the numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
It would significantly change the numbers.
Now, what you could possibly do, I don't know what the end result would be, but if you put that into 2, and then you took these out of 1,
No, leave it alone. Leave it
One-
like it,
one-
leave it like it is.
One has 50, is it 50 too many?
1 has 46 too many.
Okay, one is 46 too many. And that's,
And I know it's only a crystal ball, but of the 4 precincts, do you all have a sense of which one is more likely to grow a little bit faster than the others? Or is that
we
too
thought
difficult to
precinct
think about?
4 was the one that was growing the fastest, because people are moving over from Victoria into that area. But according to the census numbers, who grew the most? Precinct 3.
Right.
Say that again? Didn't lock enough gates. Okay.
So does it, Frank, does it make more sense to try to bet on what we think might come, or just go with what it is?
No, I think I think it's just fine to go with what it is. Just if you knew of something for sure that was coming and you want to adjust for it now so that you might not have to do this in 10 years, then you could do that. But it is, Your Honor, like I said, a crystal ball. You know, it's a guesstimate.
Okay, so you're okay with this?
Yeah, as long as he, like I say, look, everything in brown is precinct 2. And then Ward Street, of course, is still the cutoff, or the dividing line between the 2 precincts.
So you could support this?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I can support it then.
We're not, you're keeping all your miles.
Thank you.
I ain't taking no miles away from you.
Thanks.
So there's no gerrymandering involved here?
No, it
and
doesn't.
We're all just trying to get the numbers to work out. I don't think that any of us are aware of the different ethnicities that are playing into this. I mean, specific.
Yeah, but you can't mess with that, with those numbers. I mean, you can't, because then you'll be doing something different, you know. All we can go by is the number of people, you know.
Yeah. So do you wish to make a motion to support this?
I make a motion
This is yes.
I make a motion that we support this redistricting by changing precinct 2 and 3 according to the map.
Put the right map back up there so we can make sure we're approving the right map.
We can't show you that.
Yeah. Alonzo needs to either second this or not second this, I guess. As Mr. Edwards said, he doesn't have much of a dog in this.
I don't have a dog in the fight either.
No. Yeah, you run full county.
There you go, Mr. Morales.
I'll second the motion, sir.
Okay.
I think we're good with that, Frank.
Okay,
All
sir.
questions?
All in favor of this map as it exists now, signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries, and this is the map that we're going to use.
And Judge, I assume you're going to want to have, for justice of the peace precincts, combined precincts, 2 of them,
We have
as you already have, so combined precincts 3 and 4 for,
3 and 4 are JP2.
or JP2.
1 and 2 are JP1.
Right.
Okay, so I'd
So
like.
I would suggest you make that motion too, just make that
Yeah.
boundary there too.
I make the motion that I just want to make it clear that we've moved JP 2 into JP 1 precinct at this point. So I make the motion that we have moved the JPs, not a lot, but we have moved them. I make that motion that we
Follow the precinct
follow the
commissioners.
precincts as we've done in the past. Alonzo, I think you ought to second that, or not second it.
So the JP precincts are going to follow the commissioner's district lines. Is that right?
That's what they're doing now.
Okay. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
Now, the only question I have was, we were going to do a true public hearing this week with the published notice in the paper and all of that. I don't think we did that because of
We didn't
because of the snafu from last week. So
Right.
I would encourage you to have one more meeting where you look at this one more time. I don't know that I need to be here.
Before we adopt it?
All we had to do is approve it, I believe. We can't adopt it at this point.
You can. You can. What you've done tonight is perfectly fine and legal. It's just we
Right.
always like to have as much
Well, we couldn't
possible notice.
advertise without knowing how this was going to turn out, so we can put an advertisement in the paper and shoot for next week. We could have that in conjunction with our regular
Regular
Commissioners
meeting?
Court meeting on
Yes,
Monday night.
That give us enough time to put he said we had to put a public hearing in the
72
Well, that would
hours.
be the public hearing,
72 hours is all you.
regular meeting, our regular meeting on Monday.
regular meeting,
You
yes.
have to publish it in the paper?
Ideally, yes, sir.
Well, ideally, we got the newspaper reporter, unless he left. He's here.
So I will send you that language this evening or first thing in the morning for the notice and
Because
the agenda item and everything else, and I'll send you the new maps too.
he was talking about we need to view those maps one more time, make sure we're good where we're at.
Let's look at them again.
No, when he redraws them or whatever he's got to do.
Redraw the permanent lines and email them to us in the morning to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we can put a notice in the paper in the morning to, a notice for the public hearing to be held next Monday night. We'll be within our 72-hour time frame there.
Yes, sir.
That seems reasonable. Is that good? Not?
Yes.
Okay. So if you'll send us the maps in the morning, we'll publish that and we'll put it in 2 different papers.
Perfect.
But the problem is that this is a once-a-week paper, so we'll have to go with the Advocate
Okay.
in Victoria.
In Victoria, yeah.
But it is a paper of general circulation. We've already covered that ground.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that should work just fine.
What else do we need to do?
That is it, sir.
That's it.
We will need to redraw the district lines for the precincts, for the voting precincts, and that will be our next step, and I'll work with your elections people to get that done. That has to be done by the end of the year. We obviously want to try to move a lot faster than that, but that's the legal deadline for that.
Okay.
So these new lines are going to be counting for the next election coming up, primaries in March 22?
Yes, sir.
They would be ready for the primaries in March and the general election in November.
Okay.
And according to Mr. Bass, the lines as far as jurisdictions concerned for JPs and commissioners takes effect on January 1, 2022.
I think we have time to get it all ready.
Good deal.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you for your presentation, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Glad to do it.
And we'll look forward to getting those updated maps.
I'll get you those, and then we'll talk about whether you need me here for that Monday night meeting or not.
We'd love to have your company, but I don't know that it'd be necessary. But
He's already told us he's not on the clock. It's a one price.
It is.
So he can come Monday.
Although, what I'd much rather do is just be available by phone if you need me to be, but
we can do that,
we'll talk.
as long as you're standing right outside the courthouse.
I almost answered his call.
All right, okay. Thank you again.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, public announcements. Does anyone have a public announcement they would like to make? Otherwise, I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So move, Judge.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks again. We'll look forward to getting those maps in the morning, and we'll put the